I welcome you all for the discussion on complex variables. So in this video we are going to discuss what a complex number is and some of the basic concepts concerned with complex numbers. So before starting with the definition of complex numbers, I am going to assume that you are familiar with real numbers, integers and rational or irrational numbers. So with that familiarity, I am going to start with the definition of complex numbers. A number that is of the form x plus iy, where x and y are real numbers, that we write like this. In symbolic form, we write like this: x comma y belongs to, this symbol belongs to R means set of all real numbers. So a number of the form x plus iy, where x and y are real numbers and I represents square root of minus 1. This you can equivalently write as I square equal to minus 1. So the number of this form is called a complex number. So generally we denote this by z. So z equal to x plus iy, where x and y are real numbers, is called a complex number, where I represents square root of minus 1. So this is about the definition of complex numbers. Now here x is called a real part of z and we write that as Re of z. X is called a real part of z, that we write like this, Re of z. So Re of z means x. So here y, which involves this imaginary quantity I, or imaginary quantity, or it is called as complex quantity. So as this number involves this complex quantity, we call this as complex number. That is the reason why we call that as complex number. So this y is called imaginary part of z. Imaginary part of z, which can be written like this. So symbolically, Im of z means y. So Re of z means x. That is the real part. So this is about real and imaginary parts of z, the complex number. So this actually the first point I had to remember. Second point is, given any complex number, you can find its complex conjugate, just like our rational numbers. So conjugation, what we use there, similar to that we have here the complex conjugate of the given complex number. So z equal to x plus iy, its complex conjugate is written by this symbol or this notation z bar. That means conjugate of z, conjugate or complex conjugate of z. So z bar equal to this complex conjugate is obtained by replacing I by minus I. So whatever the complex number you have, there you have to change I to minus I. You get other complex number, that will be the complex conjugate of the given complex number. So this is called the complex conjugate. Complex conjugate. So that is the second point you have to remember. So the third point, by the Maclaurin series expansion of e power x, we have e power x equal to 1 plus x by 1 factorial plus x square by 2 factorial plus x cube by 3 factorial. This goes on continuing. So generally the nth term will be x power n by n factorial. Here if you replace x by ix and then separate the series, odd terms all one kade, even terms all one kade barudre. So finally you will be arriving at this result, e power ix. See, you have to replace x by ix, then you have to separate even and odd terms. So finally you get this one, e power ix equal to cos x plus I sin x. This is the relation which connects cos x, sin x and the exponential function e power x. See, this is one of the most simple and important identity in complex numbers. So we have e power ix equal to cos x plus I sin x. Here you can replace x by minus x to get e power minus ix equal to cos of minus x is anyway cos x only. I have to write the same thing, cos x plus, see here, plus I sin of minus x, that is minus sin x. So you can directly write minus I sin x. So we got e power ix equal to cos x plus I sin x, and e power minus ix equal to cos x minus I sin x. Okay. Now if you add these two, the second term, I mean imaginary parts get cancelled and you get cos x, 2 times of cos x. So we have some of the important identities that just I list here. Point number 3, I think it is. Under point number 3, point A, cos x equal to e power ix plus e power minus ix by 2, and sin x equal to e power ix minus e power minus ix by 2. Next, see, if I replace x by ix here, that's point B, we will be getting cos of ix equal to e power I times of ix, that will be minus x. Similarly, minus I times of ix. So you can substitute all those things and simplify. Finally, you get this one, e power x plus e power minus x by 2. This we call as cos hyperbolic x. Cos hx anta baradre, cos hyperbolic x anta artha. So you can observe this thing, cos hyperbolic x equal to cos of ix. So this thing I have to note down here. And similarly, if I replace x by ix here, sin of ix will be, again you can make that modification. So finally we arrive at this one, I times of e power x minus e power minus x by 2, that is I sin hx, I sin hyperbolic x. So this is about the trigonometric functions cos x and sin x, cos hyperbolic x and sin hyperbolic x. So the thing you have to observe is cos hyperbolic x is equal to cos of ix, sin hyperbolic x equal to sin of ix. If you want, you can write it in opposite way. Sin of ix equal to I sin x. You can write like that, no problem. So, but you have to remember these results because we solve many problems that involves hyperbolic functions. So that is about the third point you have to remember. And the fourth point is de Moivre's theorem. De Moivre's theorem. This is again one of the simplest and most important theorem in complex numbers. So I'll just state de Moivre's theorem here. Cos x, okay, write in terms of x only. Usually we write in terms of theta. You can write in terms of x also, no problem. Cos x plus I sin x all power n is equal to cos nx plus I sin nx. So this is the de Moivre's theorem. Here n is any real number. Any real number. So proof of this result is very much easy, that involves induction. But now, time being, we don't go for the proof of this one. Then some of the basic properties that are associated with complex numbers we have to discuss here. And see, if you write the complex number in terms of, geometrically, if you express the complex number, it will be like this. This is y axis and this will be x axis. And suppose you have some number here, z equal to x plus iy. That can be written as z of x comma y. So this will be the actual complex number x plus iy. Okay. So that can be represented using the coordinates x and y. So this length will be y and this length will be x. And if you want, you can draw a line that is joining on the point z with origin. Then we have these results. If you take this as the radius vector, you have studied the polar curves in your first semester course, right? If you take this as the angle, vectorial angle, we call that as, then vector r will be square root of x square plus y square, and theta will be tan inverse of y by x. This is exactly similar to the relation between Cartesian coordinates and polar coordinates that we have discussed under polar curves. So same thing that repeats here. See here, vector r that is given by square root of x square plus y square, this actually represents the distance of the point z from the origin. The distance of the point z from the origin, that is represented by vector r. See here we prefer their notation in terms of z only. So for vector r we shall write modulus of z. Usually instead of vector r we write modulus of z. So given any complex number z equal to x plus iy, if z equal to x plus iy, then the distance of the point from the origin, the distance of the point z from the origin is given by modulus of z, that is given by the formula square root of x square plus y square. So this is called the modulus of z. And the next is theta, which represents the angle between this radius vector or modulus vector and the initial line. This we call amplitude or argument. Argument or amplitude. So vector r is called as modulus and theta is called as amplitude or argument of z. Now there are some important identities that relates this argument and modulus of different complex numbers. So let's do one by one. So first one, if you have two complex numbers z1 and z2, then modulus of z1 into z2 is same as modulus of z1 into modulus of z2. You can extend this result for n number of complex variables. So modulus of the product is equal to product of the modulus. That you have to remember. Modulus of the product is equal to product of the modulus. So second important point you have to remember, amplitude of z1 and z2 is equal to amplitude of z1 plus amplitude of z2. So amplitude of the product is equal to sum of the amplitudes. So that you have to remember. And third important point, modulus of quotient of two complex numbers. Modulus of z1 by z2 is equal to modulus of z1 divided by modulus of z2. So unless modulus of z2 is not equal to 0, or more simple form you can write z2 is not equal to 0. When do you say that a complex number is non-zero? If either its real part or imaginary part is non-zero. If both real and imaginary parts are 0, then we call that as zero complex number. So 0 is complex number, real number, every same. There is no difference between them. Next, amplitude of z1 by z2 is equal to amplitude of z1 minus amplitude of z2. And the last one is called triangular inequality. Modulus of z1 plus z2 is always less than or equal to modulus of z1 plus modulus of z2, and modulus of z1 minus z2 is greater than or equal to modulus of z1 minus modulus of z2. So these are the result we have to remember. So with this we shall wind up the discussion on complex numbers. Here our actual aim is to discuss concepts in complex functions, not complex numbers. Complex functions we have to discuss actually. So the basic thing we have discussed here. Next, let us move to complex number. A function, complex functions. Complex functions. We have already discussed functions, real valued functions we call that as. So a function of the form w equal to f of z, where z equal to x plus iy is called a complex function. We simply call this as complex function, or you can say that complex valued function. Complex function or complex valued function. For example, let us take this one, f of z equal to z square. Okay, let us start with a very simple example, f of z equal to z. Then this f of z we call as w. So you can write w equal to z. Then what happened? W equal to x plus iy. So now x will be the real part of w and y will be the real part of, the imaginary part of w. Okay. Let us take one more example, then you will be clear about this. F of z equal to z square. So this will be w, right? So this becomes what? W equal to x plus iy whole square. If you expand this, a square, so that is x square plus b square, so plus iy whole square, iy whole square, that is I square plus y square, right? Plus I square y square plus 2ab, 2a ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ x, b ಅಂದ್ರೆ I. Now this becomes what? If you simplify, w equal to x square minus y square plus I into 2axy. Now x square minus y square, this will be the real part of w, and 2xy will be the real part of, imaginary part of w. And for the simple, to have simpler notation, we call this as u, and this we call as b. So now you can write w equal to u plus iv, or you can write f of z equal to u plus ib. No problem. You can write either w equal to u plus iv or f of z equal to u plus iv. Then u will be the real part of the function f of z or w. V will be the imaginary part of the function f of z or w. So this is about complex valued functions. So see, we have till the last semester we have studied functions. ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲೂ ನಾವು ರಿಯಲ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನೂ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಓದಿದ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಗ ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ವೈ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್, ಅದೊಂದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ವೈ ಎರಡು ರಿಯಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಬಂದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಏನೂ ತಲೆ ಕೆಡ್ಸ್ಕೊತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ರಿಯಲ್ಲು ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರೀ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಓದಿದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಏನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್? ಸೊ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟೇ. ಮುಂಚೆ ಓದಿದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ರಿಯಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಇವಾಗ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಸ್ ರಿಯಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ along with complex conjugate, complex quantity I. So in a most simpler form, a complex function is a function which involves I. So I ಏನೋ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ವರ್ಡ್ ಸೇರಿಸ್ಬೇಕಷ್ಟೇ. I ಇಲ್ವಾ, ಸೊ ತಲೆಗೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. If you have I, you have to say that is complex oriented function or number. So with this introduction to complex functions, as usual we may next extend our discussion to limit of a function, continuous function, differentiable function, etc. So that we have already studied. So limit of a function, so that is the basic thing. From that we jump to continuous functions. So when do you say that this limit of a function, that is a number k which exists as z tends to a, where f of a is actually not defined. So that is about limit. What do you mean by continuous function? We say that this function f of z I am considering for all this discussion. We say that the function f of z is continuous if limit f of z as z tends to a is equal to, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ನಂಬರ್ ಬಂದರೆ ಅದು ಬರೀ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಅಂತ, ಆ ನಂಬರ್ ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಅದು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ನಂಬರ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಲಿಮಿಟ್, ಒಂದು ಫೈನೈಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಲಿಮಿಟ್, ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ನಂಬರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ಸ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗೂ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕೀಪ್ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಫ್ರಮ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಮೂವ್ ಟು ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಷಿಯಬಲ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್. Differentiable functions. When you say that a function is differentiable at a point, usually at a point define ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. So differentiable at a point, at a point a, if ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಝೆಡ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇತ್ತು, ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬೇರೆಲ್ಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಝೆಡ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಝೆಡ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಎ ಆಸ್ ಝೆಡ್ ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಎ. ಇಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ಸ್, if this limit exists, then we say that that function is differentiable. If that limit exists, we say that that function is differentiable. And obviously every differentiable function will be continuous. But converse need not be true. In all these cases, this need not be true. See, this indicates we move from this concept to this concept. It is not meaning that limit implies continuous. No, limit discuss ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಡಬಲ್ ಆರ್ ಹಾಕಿರೋದು. ಬಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ಸ್ ನೀಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇಂಪ್ಲೈ ದಟ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ನೀಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇಂಪ್ಲೈ ದಟ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಷಿಯಬಲ್. ದಿಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟ್ರೂ, ಬಟ್ ದ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೂ. Every differentiable function is continuous and every continuous function has a limit. So this is about the real valued function or the ordinary function, what we have discussed till our last semester. Now there is one more type of function, that is only for complex valued function. So from here we move to one more type, that is called as analytic function. Analytic function. What do you mean by analytic function? That is very much simple. The definition is most simple. So I'll write the definition here. We say that a function is analytic at A. We say that function is analytic at A. I have one particular point. Illo ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ, a particular point. ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ particular point ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. So function is analytic at A if it satisfies two conditions. First condition, basically if it is differentiable at A. First condition is it should be differentiable at A. Second condition, differentiable at some point B near to A. see, I have a domain like this, and I have a point in A, and I have to check whether the function is analytic at this point or not. So what you have to do is, first you have to check whether the function is differentiable at this point. If it is differentiable, you have to choose one point that is very close to this point, very very close. You have to choose a point that is very close to A and check whether the function is differentiable at that point. If it is differentiable at least one of these points, then the function is analytic at A. Point A ಅಲ್ಲಿ differentiable ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದರ ಹತ್ತಿರದಲ್ಲೇ, it should not be equal to A ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದರ ಹತ್ತಿರದಲ್ಲೇ ಇನ್ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ differentiable ಆಗಿದ್ರು function is analytic at A. So that is the definition of analytic function. Now that is again obvious. Every differentiable function is differentiable. Every analytic function is differentiable. So we have a chain of functions: limit, continuous, differentiable, analytic. Analytic, this is discussed only for complex functions. This is not for real valued functions. So every analytic function is differentiable, and every differentiable function is continuous, and every continuous function possesses limit. So this is about the basic ideas of complex functions. Here in our syllabus, the main concept that we have to start with is the derivative of analytic function. So given any function which is analytic, then can we find its derivative easily? So that we have to discuss. So that is actually the first concept that we are going to discuss. And before going to that concept, I want to tell you one more thing, that is about Cauchy-Riemann equations or CR equation. You can simply say that CR equations or Cauchy-Riemann equations. What are these Cauchy equations or CR equations? See, we discussed analytic function here. Given any function, it is not always possible to find a point that is close to A at which the function is differentiable. You know, point A. So here we have point A, and near to that there will be 10 points, 15 points, 1000 points, 10,000 points. There may be any number of points. We cannot check whether the function is differentiable at each point. That is very difficult. So for that we use some other conditions to check whether the function is analytic or not. So that condition was given by Cauchy and Riemann. And these are called Cauchy-Riemann equations or simply CR equations. Don't confuse with the CR, that is Cauchy-Riemann equation. So there are two types of Cauchy-Riemann equations. One is Cartesian form, f of z equal to x plus iy. Not f of z equal to x plus iy. F of z equal to u plus iv, where z equal to x plus I. So in this case, Cauchy-Riemann equations are ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. See, pair ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ನಾವು, real part, imaginary part. If ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx, then this we call, if this holds, then we say the function satisfies CR equation. So these are the CR equations actually. Ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. So given any function, to check whether that function is analytic or not, what you have to do is, you have to find these derivatives ux, uy, vx, vy, and then check whether this condition holds. If this holds, then the conclusion is function is analytic at the given point. So this is Cartesian form. Next we have polar form. f of z equal to r into e power I theta. This is called polar form of, not r equal to e power I theta, again I am confusing, u plus iv z equal to r into e power I theta. So z equal to r into e power I theta. So for this CR equations are u r equal to 1 by r into v theta and v r equal to minus 1 by r into u theta. Or you can write like this: r u r equal to v theta, r v r equal to minus u theta. So these are CR equations in polar form. So with this we have discussed analytic functions and CR equations. Next we have to move to finding the derivative of analytic function. So given an analytic function, how to find its derivative? So that we have to discuss. In here I will just give you the formula. So in the next video we shall discuss how to find the derivative. So I'll give you the procedure. First step, consider given function f of z. Consider the given function f of z. Then check whether the function is analytic or not. See, the formula I am going to give here is that works only for the analytic function. That is not holds good for a function which is not analytic. So consider the given function, check whether the function is analytic. Verify whether the function is analytic. If the function is not analytic, you have to stop the procedure there only. If it is not analytic, you have to stop the procedure. If it is analytic, whether it is in polar form or Cartesian form, don't worry. If it is analytic, then its derivative is given by Cartesian form. Cartesian form andre Cartesian form formula use ಮಾಡಿ, polar andre polar form use ಮಾಡಿ. F dash of z equal to ux plus ivx. So use this formula and put x equal to z, y equal to 0. Formula ಗೆ substitute ಮಾಡಿ x equal to z ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿ y equal to 0 ಅಂತ. B. If it is in polar form, suppose, then use the formula f dash of z equal to e power minus I theta times ur plus ivr. E power minus I theta times ur plus ivr. Then put r equal to z. Then put r equal to z and theta equal to 0. Get a complex function that will be the derivative of the given function f of z. So that is the procedure to find the derivative of analytic function. So I'll just recall that procedure again. So given any function f of z, first check whether the function is in Cartesian form or polar form. If it is in Cartesian form ಅಂದ್ರೆ simple. x ಮತ್ತು y ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ z equal to x plus iy ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. It is not given explicitly. f of z ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. f of z ಅಲ್ಲಿ x ಮತ್ತು y ಇದ್ರೆ you have to take z equal to x plus iy. If f of z involves r and theta, you have to take z equal to r into e power I theta. Then you have to check whether the function is analytic or not. That means you have to find its derivatives ux, uy, vx, vy. If it is in Cartesian form, otherwise you have to find ur, u theta, vr, v theta. Then check CR equations. Ux equal to vy and uy equal to vx. ಅಥವಾ ಆರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ವಿ ಥೀಟಾ ಮೈನಸ್ ಆರ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ಯು ಥೀಟಾ. ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈ ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನಾಲಿಟಿಕ್. ಸೊ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಫರ್ದರ್. If that condition is not satisfied, then the function is not analytic, so you cannot find its derivative. I have to stop the procedure there. So if it is analytic, if it is in Cartesian form, use this formula, substitute for ux and vx, put x equal to z, y equal to 0 and simplify. If it is in polar form, substitute for f dash of z equal to e power minus I theta into ur plus ivr, put r equal to z, theta equal to 0 and simplify. That will be the derivative of the given function. So with this we are going to wind up our first class. We have started with what a complex number is, assuming the familiarity with real numbers, then discussed the basic parameters of complex numbers and basic ideas that are associated with complex numbers, and we started with complex function, limit, continuity, differentiability and analyticity. Then finally CR equations were discussed, and the procedure to find the derivative of an analytic function is given in this video. So in the next class I am going to discuss the problems on derivative of analytic function. So thank you.